Good evening, everybody. I'm Fred Gouveia. Welcome to another edition of our Conversations Around the Fire on Spirit Reflections, tonight in English. And I'm very grateful to invite a guest from Brazil, from my hometown, São Paulo, Brazil, Sonia Rinaldi. Sonia, good evening from your laboratory.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Thanks for being with us on Spirit Reflections. If you're here for the first time, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, and you are able to type in your comments and your questions. You also see in the ticker banner below the information on Sonia's work, how you can get in touch with her, and how you can follow her work online. So we are here to talk about technology today and how technology is a gateway for us to access the spirit realm for those that have departed and those that may one day come back here to the physical world, right, Sonia?
Yes, that's it. That's our theme for tonight.
And
Instrumental transcommunication, right? That is the name.
there it is. ITC, I also have heard as EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, right? I believe is a related subject.
These are not exactly the same thing. Okay, EVP. It was the first name that the first recordings of the pioneers. It was given for the first recordings in tape recorder. So although that old technology, ITC refers of multiple use of technologies. So you can use either telephone, television, video, whatever.
Awesome. So before we get into ITC properly, Sonia, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you first get involved in this work? Take us a little to your past.
Okay. I think that I was about 18 years old, and I was not satisfied with the explanations I got in the school. I was raised in a nuns school, so I didn't. I couldn't accept that there was a God and something like that could be making miracles and all that magic. It couldn't make sense. And besides that, it sounded like a religion. And for a long time, I think that religions, I don't like it. I think that either you know or you don't.
You're a
So
scientist at heart.
yeah, that's it. I think that to believe is something that I particularly don't like. So I was about 20 years then, and I heard that people in Europe were recording voices, and then I said, "Oh, if this is true, that's my way because it's something solid, something that I can deal with. It is not a religion; it is
Something you
not a
can
belief."
measure, right? Data, you can.
Yeah, that's so. I started long ago. Started recording, and obviously it was very difficult because by that time there was no instructions. There was nothing like YouTube or internet to teach you how and solve all your doubts. So we have to start the way since the zero, and so we did. And it took me about 3 years for listening something for the first time. Obviously, that nowadays I noticed that first I was making many wrong things in terms of technology, but we didn't know. So it was
So you
as I
started with like
began.
a tape recorder. What was the first equipment that
Yes,
you used?
I was using at the beginning. No, in truth, the very beginning, I didn't use anything because we didn't know we had to record. For you to
Oh,
imagine how wrong all
wow.
things were. So for some months, we are just listening the radio. Me and my husband, that later would die. So at the beginning, we just kept listening to the radio, and we expected we thought that was the instrumental transcommunication, that the voice would speak through the radio, right? So we stood there waiting and waiting, and nothing happened. Later on, I discovered that we should record, and then we started with cassette tapes recorder, and so it was very difficult, let's say, because we didn't have any knowledge, right? So, but well, I think it was very worthy because, in spite of all difficulties, I'm here today, right?
So then explain to us who are lay people in this field, Sonia, why is it so important to record it?
Yeah, look, the difference between ITC phenomenon and any other type of a phenomenon which will be mediumistic somehow, either for materialization, either for automatic writing, anything will be mediumistic, right? The only one which is not mediumistic is precisely instrumental transcommunication. So that in our case, the medium are the devices, okay? I don't play any role as a medium, right? The medium are the devices. So that the other side has to go through the equipment, either video camera or microphone, anything that I may be using. So that is why it is important.
This thesis that I just created in my head from my knowledge of Spiritism and studying the books of Kardec, that there's got to be some kind of a emanation of ectoplasm from some kind of medium in order for the spirits to use that and better influence the equipments themselves is false.
No. Yeah. In truth, I think that mainly who comes from the doctrine, the Spiritist doctrine, as is our case, we always will think that the medium play a role in this communication, but in our case, it doesn't. Definitively, these and the other side wants to be this way because they don't want to use any person. They don't want to depend on any person. That is the important function of the ITC, not to depending on any medium, and so in future to be able to spread everywhere, right? If it depended on personal qualities, they would have problems, but they are testing all the ways they can use to contact us via technology. And it is also important that all these are recorded because with these digital files, you have, let's say, solid evidences that can be investigated.
Indeed.
And this is something that for me is extremely important because since my very beginning, I am sure that to help people, to help moms that lost their sons are half of the thing. The other half is to prove that this is real. I know that we can do it. This is, if you consider mediumship, it is difficult because you always need the witness of someone that participated. So you don't have something where you can use maths. And in case of ITC, you can use physics, you can use maths, you can use scientists to analyze voices and the images. So that's why we have to have the digital files for any type of investigation.
Let me ask you a question. Have you worked with spiritualist centers or spiritist centers that hold seances or mediumistic meetings and they record their sessions and then they submit that footage to you to see if you're able to detect anything that they were not able to detect by the mediums in their meeting?
Yes. I think that this happens from time to time, but that is, let's say, that there are what we could call some some events, that some recordings that comes without you to expect, without you to know about, right?
Okay.
This happens casually. Okay. Another thing is when you do it on purpose, which
Right.
is, for instance, my case. So it is different. Whenever you have a spiritist seance, or it doesn't have to be there.
Right.
Even at your house, it can happen. But this doesn't mean that it's a deep connection to a station, a transmission station,
In the
right?
spirit world.
Yes, right. So it is different. For instance, let's say that in my case, since the beginning, I started establishing this connection, and it obviously, with time, after 30 years, more than 30, obviously this connection is very solid, right?
Right. Right.
But obviously the phenomenon may happen to anyone.
Randomly at any moment. Right. Exactly. No, in fact, Sonia, I mean, I know people don't like to toot their own horn, but you are considered one of the most important authorities in ITC in the world today. And you mentioned about mothers receiving comfort from your work. I know a personal experience of a dear, dear friend, Christina from Miami, one of the first people that introduced me to Spiritism back when I was in my younger days with hair. She lost one of her sons, Stefano, and she had more than 20 audio communications that she obtained through you and in the work that you did in the time that you worked with her. And she actually played some of those to me. And I remember Stefano alive, and I remember listening to those audios, and they were exactly the same. And one of the most beautiful aspects of that story, and I'm sure you don't remember because you deal with thousands of people all the time, but what really struck me was that her husband, his father, had already
I,
passed away. And in the very last message, both of them came and said, Mom, we are now able to bring dad, and we are reunited here in the spirit world. And what's even more touching is that this friend recently passed away like a month ago. So it just is very comforting to see that at the time, the heart of a mother that was going through the most painful experience a mother can go through was comforted in the certainty that her son was alive and actually communicated with her, you know?
Yeah, and I don't know if she ever showed you an image, because Stefano, her son, also appeared in image, and
Oh,
as well
wow.
as her husband. And
Wow.
uh,
No.
and it was something that I remember about this case, because I think this is about 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
2007, 8, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, more or less it. So one detail that I thought it was interesting was that in Stefano's communication, sometimes he spoke English with a Brazilian accent. So that
Yeah.
was very, very peculiar, because because he was raised in the United States, but she used it to speak Portuguese
Yeah.
at their home, and I think that it was very, very curious because of his accent. And
Yeah.
yes, Christina was very happy with this.
It leaves no room for doubt, right, Sonia? So I think with the technology advancing the way it has, tell us a little bit about these stations in the spirit realm and the people that are behind the organization of this effort in the invisible side of life, please.
Yeah, one thing that I discovered, having happily many, many friends in the United States, is that they are not familiar with all the books that I'm sure that you also read from Chico Xavier. So we have a certain notion that life is in the other side is quite similar to ours.
Right.
They work, they eat, they sleep. And I see that whenever I mentioned that in the other side there were transmission station, I noticed that my American friends were surprised. They used to say, "But how? How is this a station?" Because I think that in their heads it is as if everything is transparent. It is like a smoke, and it's not like that.
Well, as they say, as above, so below, right?
Yeah, perfectly. So, in truth, what we know about these stations is that see, it is just a question of logic. Imagine that, for instance, all great inventors on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
what will they do after they die? I cannot imagine that a Thomas Edison or Nikola Tesla would be praying in the other side. It is not their style.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense, right? Usually they are skeptic and all that. So we have to understand that in the other side, we go on usually doing more or less what we did here, and obviously with other opportunities and so. But for instance, a medical doctor, he spends 12 hours every day in a hospital, then he dies. Quite possibly, he'll go on being a doctor, maybe in the same hospital.
Right.
He could be inspiring the other doctors, and it will be his life again.
Right.
So persons doesn't change. So it is very seen by this side. You perceive that it is natural that inventors and scientists and people who deal with communication on Earth will be very, very interested in making this better and better. And that is what is the station. It is a gathering of scientists. They have equipment much, much more developed than ours. And they inspire us many times so that we can better our equipment as well. And then they are transmitting because in all these years, and we are speaking about 100 years of instrumental trust communication on Earth, still they are testing and testing because our technology is getting better,
Right.
and this, in truth, is very good for them. So they depend on these to better for them to be able to do more.
Right.
So they are scientists and they work. I think that
So I think as far back as when we here on Earth began to discover electromagnetic electricity and these types of things in the early 20th century or even late 1800s, right? That's you would say is the beginning of ITC, so to speak, right? If you will.
yeah, in truth, yeah, in truth, it was like that. By the time of Thomas Edison, he thought that he could build a device for communicating with the CZD ones. He didn't succeed, but it was the first one that expressed it and registered this idea. So, but the other side, it depended, we to come until the 1950 when electronics appear,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could start transmitting and contacting us. So yes, it depended on the electronics.
Now, tell us about your connections and interactions through ITC with the spirit of Nikola Tesla, which I thought were very interesting because we've heard similar reports from the spirit of Nikola Tesla from other sources. So it definitely verifies what you told us before, and you have some actually samples here. I'd love to hear about what is Tesla doing on the other side.
Yeah, well, in truth, I think that he is doing now much more than he had done here, and notes that he made incredible things. Many persons says that he was the greatest inventor of all times.
Indeed.
Because in spite that when he was alive, he was not so much recognized.
Right.
The fact is that he invented many things that later would be used by us.
Yeah, he was a visionary.
Yeah, for sure. So many things that he just planted the seed we are using today. So he made incredible changes in our science. So in truth, Tesla, we see obviously as a man that was here and everybody knows his face and so on. But I see him as something like an avatar, a missionary that came to Earth to develop a little bit, to push our technology so that today he could use in the other side, right? If he hadn't done that at the beginning of the last century, he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing now with me or
To
whoever.
continue his work in the
Yes,
afterlife, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that uh, the main purposes of these friends from the station, which is coordinated by Tesla, is to prove immortality in scientific conditions,
Right.
right? So obviously, we possibly have a longer way to go. Maybe it is not in my lifetime that we will do this, but it doesn't matter because everything has its time,
Right.
and a moment will come that this will be possible, and obviously they are prepared for that, right?
Now, before we get into Tesla's audios and the messages you're going to share on our screen, Sonia, explain to us what's happening behind you there.
Ah, yes. In truth, we had a different scenario
Right.
before we started, but as you suggested that maybe we could try an experiment, so I said, oh, but I needed the light to turn it off, and so I turned off the light here, and then you said, well, we can do the conversation like this.
Yeah,
Okay, for me.
and it
So
was like only 5 minutes before we went on the air. I was like, "What's
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God, is that possible? Please, can we make it happen?" That's why we were late because Sonia was setting up her laboratory.
Yes, but it is. I'm sure that there are lots of things. So our propose is that you will send me the video that we
Yeah,
are recording right now, and I'll have a look and then give you back, so
awesome.
that in another moment you can share
We
with
can
our.
share with our friends here. Yeah.
Yes.
So are the colors because the colors have different frequencies and the smoke is I'm just curious what's the purpose of the of what we
Yeah.
see behind you?
In truth, look, I every time I change what I use because I think that to research it is that you
Right.
cannot keep repeating. There are persons that I know that record EVP in the as the time of EVP is still today. That is everything didn't went ahead.
Didn't change
So
anything in the
yeah, so what I do is each month I change everything. I throw
nice.
away many things and have my new ideas and so. And something that happened, let's say some months ago, was that casually um, I discovered that they could manipulate the vapor.
The
So
vapor.
the vapor, and are we?
Your screen froze, so I'm trying to play with the cameras to see if your face unfreezes. Or this might be the spirits in the station already playing some tricks.
Yeah,
Uh, hmm,
maybe.
your screen froze. But
Yes.
keep going. It's going to unfreeze eventually.
Okay, we hope so.
Yes.
So I discovered that they could manipulate, they could shape the vapor. Okay, and I brought an example, and in truth, more than one, because I will show some recent trans images, and I have been working frequently with the vapor. And another thing that they show they are capable is to manipulate light, which is something that our technology is not even dreaming of manipulating light.
Speaking of technology, Sonia, your screen completely froze. So
Yeah, I see.
what I think we should try is let's go to the screen share
Yes,
and see
yes.
if this improves, please.
Yeah, okay, let's try.
So we've got your screen share, and I'm going to.
Wait. Well, I discovered. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. This is
Okay.
good.
I will share the screen. Okay. Can you see?
No, you need to press the share screen button again in order for me to enable on my
Okay.
end. Maybe that'll do the trick. Well, friends, while Sonia is frozen, I'm going to remove her face from the because not fair. Okay, here we go. We can see your screen now. I just need to put on PowerPoint.
Okay.
Here we
Can you
go.
see?
And yeah, just go to full screen and then we're
Yes.
ready to roll.
Okay.
Awesome. And
Can you
then,
see?
yep. And then while you explain to us, I'm going to mute myself while I ask for the help of the people in StreamYard to see if I can unfreeze your face. But I'm here. Go for it.
Okay. So, well, this first image that I'm sharing is Nikola Tesla. And these, in spite of this is the image, right? And observe that he is much younger than he was when he died. This is about some 20 something, 23 or 24 years old. I'm sorry, 83 or 84 years old. And he died with the age of 86. So he appeared in the image very, very younger. And what is surprising is that in his whole life, Nikola Tesla ever made any picture, any photo in which he was smiling, right? And here he appeared smiling. You can see his teeth. And this is curious because by his time, it was not nice for a scientist, important as he was, to appear smiling. So all the time he is serious. In this any image that you can see at the internet, he will never be smiling. And here for us, he appeared smiling. Okay. Now we have this other case here of Amber. Amber is the deceased daughter of my friend Lisa from Florida, and Amber passed with the age of 25 years old. But surprisingly, she appeared, as you see here at left, as a little girl. And when I sent this photo to Lisa, Lisa sent me this picture of Amber when she was about 12 years old, so that we see that they the other side sent Amber's image, showing that either she is younger now or that they were able to get an image from her memory. The fact is that it is very frequent nowadays for people, for the other side, to send the pictures of the loved ones much younger than when they were when they passed away. Okay.
Which we frequently hear that they like to appear as younger than when they passed away, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And possibly, well, in the Spiritist literature, it is also said that people in the other side recover after the death. For instance,
Right.
if a person died old as, let's say, 85, 90 years, this person will appear as 40 years old. So they are renewed and they are healthy. They look
Right.
happy.
Right.
They don't look like they were when they passed, right?
Right.
This is also a very interesting case. Here at our left, we have my friend Patricia. She is from Vermont, close to New York, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were in a workshop. I was making a workshop in Orlando, in Florida, last year. And I was teaching the attendees how they could make the images, how they could record the images. And Patricia was there, as well as Lisa and many of my friends. And Patricia was in front of the camera. And I was explaining, and with each attendee, I made a special recording so that we could see if something happened, or if any loved one appeared. And recording Patricia's face, she was transfigured into her daughter, Melissa. The transfiguration is one type of a phenomenon which is very typical in instrumental transcommunication. It is many times, and it is happening in Orlando with this group, and here very frequently. I may have someone in front of the camera, and this person started changing, and becomes another person. So
and
that
these people could see live, or only after you analyze the recording?
in truth, the phenomenon, the visual phenomenon, it happens live.
Wow.
Though we don't have a brain enough for detecting, because sometimes it
very
is just
quick.
one frame. Yes,
Got
it is just one frame or two frames, and
Makes
it is
sense.
so quick that you cannot perceive, but it is there recorded, right? So that is, and something very interesting was in this case of Melissa's apparition was the following. Patricia had showed me a photo from her daughter, and she had the hair completely straight. I don't know how do you say that. It is not a curl.
Not curly, but
Not
completely
curly.
straight.
Yes. And then when I saw this image here, the trans image, and with this hair, I thought, for God's sake, who can she be? Is that Melissa? And then she sent me this picture that you see here.
Wow.
And you see that her natural hair was curly.
Slightly
And
curly,
she
yeah.
used it to straighten it. But naturally, it was curly as she appeared.
Amazing.
This is just to show something that they can shape in the vapor. This is another, let's say, student or attendee of the workshop in Orlando, in the same workshop of Patricia. This was Beth, and there was the vapor, as I told you, that I have frequently used. And I was using there in Orlando, and observed that they create a huge photo, a huge image aside Beth. So it is sometimes the details are so incredible that they create they shape in the
Right.
vapor that you have the impression
Almost
that
looks
you
like
can
a
touch it.
drawing, right?
Yes, yeah, but sometimes it has volumes, so that you have the impression that it is 3D.
3D.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah. So.
So I guess the question that is on everyone's mind is, Sonia, how do I do this at home?
well, it is not that difficult. It is much more a question of patience, determination, dedication. I like to think that
trial and error, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The problem, let's say, the difficulty is to establish the communication, to make the other side to discover that you exist, right? And after that, things becomes easy, right?
Gotcha.
This is Sandra Champlain, also in the same workshop, and you see that they shaped the vapor in a way that it seems touchable, right?
Yeah, almost like a clay.
Yeah, yes. For them, it is possibly what it is.
Right.
And now I also brought some audios since we would speak about Tesla. And I'll play some audios, and it is, I will explain it one by one. In this one, I asked Tesla if it was possible for him to appear in image and talk simultaneously, because up to now, this was never achieved. Possibly because possibly are different teams that work, one for image and another one for voice, and also the velocity of both are different. So
right, sound travels much slower than light, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
so it is something that didn't happen yet, but it was interesting that I wanted to know if this would be possible, right? So observe that I used the word possible in my question, and he replied, possible and will. Let's listen to it.
Is that possible for you to appear in image and talk to me?
In what device did you use to capture this image, this voice?
Usually, let me just ask you one thing, because
Sure.
I could use, I could listen in my earphone. Did you listen?
We heard it. Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Oh, okay. So what I was using, well, as I told you, I change it every time. So in this moment, I was using possibly ordinary microphone and software for recording in the PC, in the computer. So everything I use is normal. Let's say it is nothing special and secret device. Yes. It is nothing.
Is that possible?
Oh, sorry. And then I think that this I spoke a little bit low, but I think that we all know that I'll be saying. I will start with the questions, okay? Because I was talking to him, to Tesla, and I had some questions for asking him, and I announced it, and then he says, "Try, I'm here." Let's listen.
I will start with the questions, okay?
So I am again. So I am again. So I am again.
Okay, and it is curious because Tesla has a European accent, right? He doesn't speak like American.
Right.
And in another moment, I asked if he could listen to me, and because I think the connection was not clear before, and then he says, "Understand more." So that moment was okay. He could listen to me.
Can you listen to me?
Understand more. Understand more. Understand more.
It almost seems like he's saying, I not only am able to listen to you, but I'm able to even understand you more, like maybe capturing your thoughts, right? Perhaps.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. They do that 24 hours a day.
Patricia and Lisa are saying, hi, Patty. Hi, Sonia. The girls are at it again.
Okay, nice.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, here we go now. And then in another moment, in another recording, I asked, can you listen to me now? And they say they learn all the day. In truth, I think he refers to his team in the other side when he says they learn, what means that it is tests after tests. It is we cannot imagine that the other side knows everything.
Right.
They have to learn what we can dispose as technology, which is very primitive for them, and they have to learn to deal with this primitive technology that we have, right? So he says they learn all the day. Let's listen.
They learn all the day.
Can you listen to me now?
They learn all the day. They learn all the day.
And these, Sonia, you basically that had to like do many trials and errors and listen back to what you recorded so that you could capture this, right? Or was it something that you heard live come in?
Now, also, again, the same problem.
Right.
From time to time, I perceive that they replied, I can perceive in real time, though in 95% of the time, I will listen later after I
Got it.
record.
Understood. Got it.
And this was very curious because I had the impression, and still have, that Tesla, in truth, is the same person, let's say, because he is not exactly a person. He would be an ultra-terrestrial called Mr. Narisha. Narisha was appeared for me many years before Tesla, and I knew he was ultra-terrestrial.
An extraterrestrial, right?
No,
Or do you call what does that mean?
Ultra-terrestrial are how we call those beings that had been on Earth and following our civilization for 1,000 years. They are, let's say, the responsible for our planet, not the responsible because, as they say, the responsible are us, right? For us. But they are following, they help. Obviously, they cannot change our tasks or our, any karma, but they can help many, many times.
So they don't necessarily reincarnate on the planet.
Yeah, you mean long ago?
Or they did at some time long ago, but today they are just sort of helping to oversee the evolution of the planet. Is that what?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, and so very long ago, this Narisha introduced himself, and well, I was afraid a little bit at the beginning because I had no idea that I could ever work with extraterrestrials and ultra-terrestrials, right? I didn't know about these by that time. So, so these ultra-terrestrials are also the big boss, I would say, our big boss, and also the big boss of the transmission stations, because there are some. It is not just one station, right? There is one for South, one for North, one for Europe, and more recently one for Asia. So, I always had the impression that Tesla was he incarnated here for his mission.
I see.
But that in truth, he was the same as Mr. Narisha.
The same individual as Mr. Narisha. I see. That's why you were trying to confirm if they were the same identity. Got it.
Yes. And it was very interesting because,
never.
he was very, oh, never. But in truth, these, oh, never, for me sounded
in a humble way.
Yes, I was Narisha, but he would never say that, you know, because Narisha, let's say, would be a much higher entity with an incredible knowledge. And when we think of these, persons may not understand and how all of a sudden someone is a high spirit. I think that we, me and you, we know that we develop it from time to time, from incarnation to incarnation. And whenever you remember that before our present civilization, it is so clear by lots evidences on Earth that all the civilizations had been here through architecture, like the pyramids. Well, lots of evidence shows that we had all the civilizations here.
They were very advanced too, right?
Yeah, and now if you consider that some humans were here, let's say 12,000 years ago, or much more than that, guess what they are now. So
Yeah,
they,
in their evolution, right? Yeah.
yeah, so they evolved, and then they can have assumed to help this planet, as possibly one day me or you will be
Absolutely.
doing that.
Right.
I think that is the objective of our lives, right?
And in this, I think the books by Kardec and the books that were to make comprise what we know as the spiritist literature, they really help to put the pieces of the puzzle together in a way that it makes sense, to be able to logically trace what would be the next steps in what you're telling us now, right? So
Yes, it is all the same. It is everything the same thing.
yeah.
So let's listen. So before I put my question, in truth, he already replied.
Hmm.
This is something that is very rare for us to understand, but it is very frequent in instrumental transcommunication. Very frequently, they can reply before. So he will say,
Oh,
before
okay.
I put the question, he says, "Oh, never." Let's listen. So,
Oh, never.
Mr. Tesla, are you also Mr. Narisha?
Oh, never.
So he answered
Oh,
you
never.
before you asked the question,
yes, that is very,
which
very common.
which is very
Oh,
which
never.
just goes to prove that the spirits are able to read our thoughts, as we see in so many books by André Luiz and others in through Chico, that the communication in the spirit realm is through telepathy, through the thought, right?
Yes, perfectly, exactly. And this is very, very common. Once I select some 100 replies, paranormal replies, and we made we studied how many times they could reply before the question and after the question. And the number that we found was that in 46% of the time, the replies came before the question. So it is a high
Wow.
number.
Wow, that is very high.
Yeah. And in this here, this is Dr. Raudever,
Hmm.
which is in truth, my main companion in the other side, my main speaker. And he says, "I love Tesla." Let's listen.
I love Tesla.
He also
I
has
love
an accent.
Tesla. I love Tesla.
Okay.
I love Tesla.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
And this is just our,
I wanted to invite the people that are watching us, Sonia, to check out the patreon.com link that you're seeing going down at the ticker in the bottom of our screen. The reason I mentioned is Patreon is a platform that helps content producers in the support of their ongoing work, any type of creative, scientific, artistic work. And in the case of Sonia's work, this is a work that is not, unfortunately, yet recognized by big academic institutions or big organizations that can readily fund this type of work. We're going to definitely get there in the future, but for now, Patreon is a fantastic platform for people like her who are on the cutting edge of science, arts, and other fields to be able to get support from the crowd. So I would encourage you to go to this link, because there, by becoming a supporter of her work, and in different dollar amounts, not only is it a tax deductible contribution in the United States, but you will get perks such as receiving an electronic copy of every Rinaldi report that
yeah.
that she publishes once a month. You have Zoom links that you can participate with Sonia every week, and eventually even enroll in some of the courses that she offers, and be able to know about them before other people. And just looking at the Patreon link right now, friends, there's some amazing images of the work that she has done in the past of capturing these images of the spirits. And so I encourage you to go and check out this website. Help us to spread the word, because in the end of the day, when people learn more about immortality, but not through only the religious, the faith, and the spiritual route, which are all valid and beautiful, but can also receive that confirmation through the understanding and the data that science offers, then I believe our world will be able to march in its progress much faster, since you can't argue with facts, and science is based on facts and experimentation, right? So Kardec, we mentioned Kardec here because I think we share a same affinity for spiritism. Kardec was a scientist at heart, and he was around in the 1850s, 1860s, wanting to devise a science of the spirit world and be able to use as much as he could with the technology that he had at the time to provide the foundation which the spirit realm then was able to build on in future works that still continue to this day as a progressive body of knowledge that keeps getting revealed and growing alongside scientific advancements. And so I believe your work is extremely important, Sonia, to allow
Thank
us to
you.
branch more and more into the scientific realm for those that have the goodwill and have the curiosity to go into this adventure of electronic instrumental transcommunication, because I will do some experiments of my own, especially as a musician. I'm going to get my violin and record myself playing, and I hope some artist spirit can come through and say, hey man, you got to play more in tune, or fix that A or fix that C.
Okay. Yeah, quite possibly. And yeah, in truth, Freddie, I think that one thing that we have to have in mind is that what we are doing now is to prepare the field for the future, right? I think that about Chico Xavier's prophecy about the deadline that
2019
yeah,
deadline, yeah.
last year. So I think, and curiously, it is happening. Not only the communication is improving all of a sudden, as he mentioned that this would happen in the planet transition, but also it is spreading, and I feel the necessity of leaving everything that I do recorded so that people in the future generations, may not to have it to do all again, and then have the things easier for them to carry on. Because I think that in the next years, I think that this communication with the other side and the certainty that we don't die will be something of day by day, right?
It would be a normal thing, right?
Yes, and so we have to help to prepare this field, and I think that that is where also comes the science, because I think that I think there are lots of persons as me that are very very hard to believe in things. I am that type.
Yeah, a healthy dose of skepticism is very healthy, as it said.
Yes.
Jessica says here, my daughter Kali was in one of your globe apparitions. I wrote on the site to let you know. Jessica Almquist.
Oh,
Wonderful,
nice.
Jessica.
Okay,
Thanks
thank
for
you,
being
Jessica.
here with us. Thank you for your support. That's amazing. Sonia, we can continue for forever, but I think I wanted to end our broadcast by asking you a question that, if you had no limitations of resources, time, people, equipment, and abilities, what would you like in your dream to see happen in your lifetime with your work?
Well, I think that a very important point I reached, which is to help people. I feel extremely glad that very recently I recorded with 15 moms that lost their boys. It was a group of boys, and the replies were absolutely amazing. And now I'm preparing for working with a group of girls. So, and these will be nearly 20. So these I already achieved. But I think that something that I didn't reach yet is the authentication, the documentation of the reality of the phenomenon. And I do hope that I don't leave Earth before I get it. Because, as I say, to help is half part of the thing. If you cannot prove that this is real, And it is a battle, because from time to time, I got persons to analyze.
Mhm.
So I have 4 documents of analysis. One is a video, which look, they cannot explain the phenomenon, but they can say, for instance, in the case of video, that nothing was inserted, nothing was changed. They can verify, they can study the whole video, and obviously you see, for instance, me changing, and then I become someone else, and then I come to me, and if you investigate, the video is absolutely uh, unique. There is nothing inserted. I didn't change anything. So this is a document that is important by now, because we don't have too many other things. And voice analysis, also I got one very important study where it was compared the voice of the deceased girl with her voice when she was alive, because she left
Mm.
in the answering machine.
Wow.
Her mother had her voice. So a very important study was made for comparing both voices. And I think that this is science. This is
Right.
for not someone saying, "Oh, I don't trust. Oh, I don't believe." No,
Peers reviewing peers' work and then
yeah,
endorsing, and yeah.
we cannot. I think that all religions will be evaluated in the future, because the majority don't accept the afterlife.
Mhm.
And whenever you deal with the scientific proofs, we cannot discuss, right? It is
Right.
something like when Darwin made his studies of the evolution of species. I think that for many years he was not trusted and so on, but it doesn't matter, because 100 years later we know that he was right.
Right.
So I think that is possibly what will happen. Even that we show that it is real, it will take some decades,
Right.
because this
Just for it to
opposes.
become common knowledge, more commonly
Yeah,
accepted, and yeah. And I believe that it also in this threshold of the 2019 and this sort of new phase we're going through, even with the technology as a result of coronavirus and COVID and us having to quarantine, people focusing even more on technology solutions in order to come closer together. I think the stations around the planet in the spirit world are going to start using the Zooms of the world to also come through to us. And so
yeah.
I think it's a bright future ahead of us. I look forward to hearing about your work more and more. And I want to invite everyone here to please support Sonia's work. She's one of those scientist pioneers that are ahead of her time, and it's not an easy battle to put up with the skeptic scientific community and to face the ridicule that I'm sure she faces from the more established, more renowned circles of science. But hey, the evidence is there. It's irrefutable in my view. I know personal cases like we mentioned, my friend Christina. I heard the recordings myself, and we're recording this, so hopefully we'll be able to send it to Sonia, and we'll get some pleasant surprises out of it. So Sonia, once again, thank you so much for
My
your
pleasure.
time, and be well in São Paulo. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'm going to put our closing segment here. But I ask you to please stay on the air. And friends, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to Spirit Reflections on YouTube and Facebook, and stay tuned for our future broadcasts and conversations around the fire. Fred Govia here from New York. Thank you so much. Have a good night.